Oh, you're
program.
supposed to.
You're supposed to be biased,
Damn right
so,
you are.
He's a huge fan, and when I walked into the booth and saw his face, I mean, it was awesome.
It was great. It was great to watch.
And watching, the TV copy, I got home. I didn't go to bed until 4:00 in the morning because my adrenaline was pumping. I went back and watched the game.
You should have been FaceTiming with Campbell.
It sounded like he crashed after the game, which is common for players and coaches.
Right.
But looking at Dan's face, I was so happy for him. I was so happy for all the people that have been with the team for so long that maybe don't get the credit that they deserve. That tends to go to the players and coaches. But Dan Miller was a guy that I was so excited to see him, and just have that moment to be able to share with him was particularly special because he's been great to me the last couple of years since I started working with the team, and it was a great moment.
He's awesome. He's a great guy, and you see all the behind the scenes guy, and that's one thing. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole Stafford thing at the podium because people I think took it the wrong way, but I mean, I watching Stafford find like Elton Moore and hugging him, and all the people that were really good to him when he played here. I thought that was pretty cool at the end of the game. So it was a great game. It was a close game. They obviously could have lost, but they won, and that's the most important thing. And they hung on, and the ballsy call on second down out of the 2-minute warning to pass to St. Brown.
And that's the time to do it. I hate when teams in that situation go run on first down, run on second down, and hey, we're going to put all of our eggs on 3rd and 9 and see if we can win the game here. That second down is the time to take a kill shot because everybody's expecting a run. So I thought it was a brilliant call from Ben Johnson. I know the offense kind of sputtered out there a little bit in the second half. But, man, the defense, like the red zone defense. I was surprised that the Rams started to throw the ball. It was like they were just trying to get Cooper Kupp a touchdown there in the red zone the entire game, and our defense had a good plan, and they kept them out, and that was the difference, right? The 0 for 3 in the red zone for our defense and 3 for 3 for our offense, scoring touchdowns. I thought it was these teams were pretty evenly matched, right? We started the game off hot on offense, going down, I think, first 3 possessions.
Touchdowns.
21-10.
And the first two possessions, the Lions never had a third down.
No,
correct.
They were in a great rhythm.
Yeah. They had a great plan.
Yeah.
And, ripping off chunk plays. I mean, 8-9 yards a carry. And, Jared Goff coming out and making a couple big-time throws.
Josh Reynolds.
That is, when Jared Goff is able to do that early in the game, that settles me down so much. You know what I mean? Just watching him. Because there's games where if he comes out and kind of pitter-patters and indecisive and, looking for checkdowns, it's like, okay, like you got to get him in a rhythm, right? But if he starts from play one, throwing it down the field with timing, with accuracy, with some zip on the ball, that gives me, and it should get everybody a confident feeling that he's feeling it today. Like he is in a rhythm today. He's feeling it. He's confident. He trusts his offensive line. He's going to trust his receivers. And that's when this offense tends to roar at their highest tempo. Second half, hey, you hit a roadblock, right? Rams made adjustments on defense.
Yeah.
You made adjustments on defense. Yeah. It came to a dogfight, but it was poetic in a sense to see kind of everything that has haunted this team. Just finally dig out of the grave and just say, you know what, not today, right? Like today's different, right? We're different, and that really I think should solidify for most of us that this team is different. So, and that's how I felt. And, Jared Goff, I wanted to see him play a playoff game. That's what I said all season. We talked about extension talks and, I got to see it, man. I want to see what he can do in the playoffs. And, he played a hell of a game. And he played a hell of a game, and he's going to have to do the same thing again this Sunday.
Yeah, and on paper, the game against, obviously, Tampa, having beat them down at their place, on paper it looks like it should be a win. And there's going to be a lot of people that pick them. But the way that it is laying out, and obviously it's most likely going to be San Francisco in an NFC Championship game, could be, Green Bay if they play the same way that they did against Dallas, who knows what happens. But this is an opportunity that has laid itself out for the Detroit Lions. And the reason I asked Dan that question was because you don't know if this is a one-off. We'd like to think that there's a window that's open. My rookie season, we beat Detroit at home, went on to the divisional round, and we lost on a field goal to Tampa Bay. Could have played St. Louis at that time, the greatest show on turf for the NFC Championship. Thought that was just how it goes. But it's not. And you just never know because of injuries, because opponents, different things that happen throughout the course of
bad
an NFL
owners.
season. Well, yeah, bad owners for us, but
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah, and TJ, in your career, obviously you had a chance to make that run and be a Super Bowl champ. There are other times where you get to the playoffs, or even you start the season, you're like, hey, we should win the division, we should host, we should win the NFC, we should get back to the Super Bowl. But there's so many weird things. How important is it for these guys to understand the opportunity that they have, and even if they play all their cards right, this opportunity may not be there next year?
Yeah, it's crucial, and I'm not worried about that as far as this team, like moving on or their head getting too big, or hey, reading the press clippings, right? Because they have this quality about them, and I don't really know where it comes from, that after an emotional win or a devastating loss, like they don't let it compile into the next week. You know what I mean? Like it's something that I think is extremely hard, especially coming off of a game like Dallas, where it felt like you got your heart ripped out. It's very easy to roll into the next week a little bit sluggish, and man, you're still thinking about that. But this team doesn't. Like they find ways to move on. And hearing Coach's story talking about his second year and making it to the playoffs, however far they went against Baltimore. That was me in my second year. I had the chance to go to Super Bowl, and we won. And you're right, as a young player, you're like, man, that wasn't that hard, right? I'm only in my second year. Like it's not that difficult. Well, by the time I got to my 10th year and realized I never got back there, it's not until that point where you're like, man, it is incredibly difficult. I think that there's an admirable quality about this team, though, that they try not to make the moment too big. It's, hey, even probably yesterday when they showed up, it was probably a lot of fun watching that film. But I guarantee when 4 o'clock hit or 3 o'clock and you're moving on, it's like, hey, back to work, man. We got to take care of this one now. So that's a great quality of this team.
All right, 248-539-9797. We'll take your phone calls, your text. TJ in with John and I here. Stoney and Jansen, 97.1 The Ticket.
Hey, your New Year's resolution is to lose weight, and you can get there faster than you think with Ideal U. Go to idealu.us now, and you could lose 20 pounds in just 30 days. Whether your resolution is to lose 10 pounds or 100 pounds or anywhere in between, Ideal U works, and it works fast. I lost 10 pounds in the first 10 days, and I lost 60 pounds overall, and I got to eat real food. It wasn't shakes, bars, and it's something that I've been able to stay on. I'm 2 years in, and I've been able to keep the weight off. And you're going to get a weight loss coach that's working with you every step of the way. They're going to help you lose weight, and they're going to help teach you how to keep it off. I'm here to tell you it works, and it works fast. Go to idealu.us right now and sign up for a free body composition analysis. That's $150 value free. Find out your visceral fat percentage, water weight percentage, bone mass, muscle mass, and anything else that you want to know about yourself. Best of all, find out how easy it is to lose weight fast. Picture yourself 20 or 30 pounds lighter in just 30 days. Now's the time to make it happen. Go to idealu.us now. That's idealu.us.
248-539-9797 is the telephone number. Shaq Barrett of the Tampa Bay Bucks says, hey, we're going to Detroit. This is our revenge tour. Beating teams that already beat them this year.
Oh, good.
So Philly was one, and for him, Detroit is the other. By the way, speaking of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of their lovely assistant coaches, Larry Foote, we love so much. He'll be with us Friday around 7 o'clock.
Yep. Yeah, former teammate of mine at Michigan there. Great dude.
Yes. What didn't you like about Sunday, TJ?
What didn't I like?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I would be nitpicking.
That's what we do.
The secondary, I think, still way too many explosive plays. The touchdown pass to Puka Nacua was, double move. I think Cam probably got a little bit too aggressive. But, and then even the long strike later in the game, I think it was Tutu Atwell. Like, that was actually really good coverage. I can't gripe about that. It was a hell of a throw. It was a vintage Matthew Stafford, strike where only his guy could get it. But I still think that, if you want to play complete defense, you still just got to tighten up the secondary just a little bit, right? And I'm totally fine with, hey, I don't care if we let up, 400 yards. If we keep them out of the end zone, that's the ultimate goal.
Right.
That is the ultimate goal. But I do think that, especially when you play a team like Baker Mayfield coming in, we know he's an aggressive quarterback. He's going to throw the ball. He's going to rip it. He's going to have that gunslinger mentality. If you can find ways to mix up your coverages, make it look like man, and then, hey, we're dropping back in zone, you can start forcing some takeaways on that defense. So I still think that's something that they can clean up. But like I said, for me, it's still not a huge issue because the bottom line is they're keeping teams out of the end zone. Yeah. So, but I think you still have to find a way to limit some of those explosive chunk plays because that can turn the momentum, especially in these playoff games.
And the thing that was not good in the second half was the offense overall, but the run game. I mean, Montgomery only got, 14 carries, 4 in the second half. Gibbs only had 4 in the second half either. He ended up with 8. And I think against Tampa and their tough run defense up front, as Dan Campbell mentioned, Montgomery's got to be not necessarily the bell cow, but, tough yardage. I think he's better at it than Gibbs.
Yeah, and teams, really starting with Dallas and Minnesota, the last game at Ford Field, really they started to pack the line of scrimmage with 5 defensive linemen. So that takes away a lot of the double teams, right? Now your center can't go slide to help a guard because he's got a nose tackle right over his head. That's challenging in the run game. You're going to have to find ways to be creative to be able to, get some gaps and down blocks and force some creases against defenses like that. I thought they did early in the game.
Yeah.
Well, they were running a lot of those counter plays and getting some of the down blocks, but later in the game, they started packing line of scrimmage a little bit. And look, I think even watching it yesterday again, the running backs missed a couple holes. I mean, there's a couple times where Jahmyr Gibbs, we love his speed, don't get me wrong, but he's bouncing it just a little too early, way out to the edge. And, you look and you say, man, give us a little stutter step, a little bit more patience, and everything on the inside is going to open up. So everybody plays a part in that. That's something that, look, Minnesota kind of, I don't want to say gave the blueprint, but they had success against our run, and that's what L.A. did in the second half was just kind of load up 5-6 guys at the line of scrimmage, and it's tough. It's tough sledding. So if they're going to do that, part of you feels like, hey, we got to supplement the short pass game, right, to kind of force them out of that defense, which they did a little bit, just couldn't really have sustainable success that often there in the second half.
Bill and Canton, you're on 97 The Ticket.
Hey, guys, John, you're one of my all-time favorites. Congratulations on Michigan Go Blue. That was exciting.
Thank you.
I've never watched so much football in my life, man, because this playoffs of the Lions, too. It's incredible. Over 50-year fan of the Lions, this is something I've never experienced. This is awesome. And Dan Campbell is just like, he's the man. When he got hired, it's like, I don't know about that, but, man, he is the man. And anybody calls in with SOL, hang up on him, because this is not SOL. That's gone. So just want to reiterate that go Lions, man. You can take care of those Buccaneers.
Let me ask you a question, and I tend to agree with you, but suppose they have a 6-point lead, 3 seconds left in the game. Mayfield chucks to the end zone. It goes through the hands of Cam Sutton into Mike Evans, touchdown at the end of the game. Would SOL be dead?
No. Okay. I mean, yeah, it would, because this is a different team, a different era. And that's not SOL because they don't lose the same way like they used to in years past or do the same things, and they always rebound. And their secondary is kind of depleted. So if that happens, that's just because of secondary a lack of talent.
All right, I'm just pointing out if they lost in ridiculous fashion more than anything else. I'm just having fun.
So Sterling Sharp was a lack of talent.
No. Lack of what they had there was a
lack of
failure
coverage
to communicate. Yeah. That's what that was between Kevin Scott and William White.
Yeah. Here's the thing: when you're talking about deficiencies and nitpicking, if I'm nitpicking, I still want to be able to find a way to pressure the quarterback more, and you've got to find a way to pressure the quarterback more with 4. At some point, you're going to have quarterbacks that are just simply better and they're mobile, and you've got to be able to be in rush lanes. But Aiden Hutchinson, I thought, played a tremendous game. He came away with 2 sacks. One of them was just simply because he got there first when Matthew Stafford fell down. But he forced that holding call. There were a number of times where he made an inside move on their left tackle, and he forced Matthew Stafford out of the pocket or rushed the throw. But there's not much of a chance for him to get home because there's no pressure coming from anywhere else.
Yeah, and that's kind of been a constant, right?
Yeah.
And it's been covered up over the past, call it 5 games now, because of the pressure that they're bringing. And you look at it and you say, 4 sacks, 3 sacks, man, we got after him. When you're right, though, there's still a large portion where, you wish there would be a little bit more consistent pressure. I think a guy who played really well was Aleem McNeil. I mean, he looks refreshed. He looks rejuvenated. We know he missed the 4 games there. Came back last week against Minnesota to play a little bit, but he looked like he played a pretty good game and was getting a little bit of pressure. I still think his role is going to continue to grow even into this week now that he's back into football shape, so to say. But you're right. I think that the 4-man rush still has to find ways to be creative or, sometimes like what other teams are doing to you, put 5 guys on the line of scrimmage and create 5 one-on-ones. We've saw that a little bit at times too. But you're right, man. Hutchinson, what is it? 7 sacks, I think, in the last 3 games. Mm-hmm. And, he's been kind of saying that all season is that, I know the sack numbers aren't there,
Correct.
but, once they come, they're going to come in bunches. And when you talk to the coaches, they're like, yeah, he's been doing the same thing he's done all year. I mean, he's getting pressure, and it just so happens that, today they led into 2 or 3 sacks. So
right.
he's going to continue to be a vital part because he is the one guy, like you said, John, that you can rely on pretty consistently to at least put some pressure on the quarterback.
And there were a few plays where you're sitting there, all right, let's get to Stafford, where all you saw, and he would drop back into coverage to try to, complicate things for him. So he's not rushing on every single play. Let's go to Chesterfield. Dave, you're on 97 The Ticket.
Hey, guys, how are you this morning?
Good.
Hey, we're pumped up about the win. The one thing real quick for you guys, I don't know, I've seen this trend, and I'm sure you guys have as well, and it scares me to death, is how in the world can we keep giving up 3rd and 19, 20, 25s? That's going to come back to haunt us when we get into deeper into this, because a team that can actually put the points up or convert that and get those 3 might cost us a game. So I just was wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, here's my answer to that. A couple of them, I'm not talking about this past game, were amazing catches by Justin Jefferson, and they had the one after there was one of the plays in Minnesota where he made a great catch.
Yeah.
Sunday, the 3rd and 19 or whatever, 3rd and 15 at the end of the first quarter, only one quarterback makes that throw, and that's Stafford.
It was a hell of a throw.
It was a great throw.
And it was, you're kind of Dave, you're kind of picking poison there where you say, hey, 3rd and 15, okay, are we gonna rush or are we gonna cover? Are we gonna drop 7 guys? Are we gonna drop 8 guys? You give Stafford time like that, he's gonna probably pick you apart.
Yeah.
So even on that play, they sent pressure, which I don't disagree with, and it was really a good call because you go back and watch, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson had a free run at Matthew Stafford, and he just got tripped up just at the line of scrimmage. So that's the negative side of it. If you send pressure and don't get home, guys are obviously going to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities. But you're right, that was just a hell of a throw, and Matthew Stafford made that. He made probably 5 or 6 throws that game that were just like, just nothing you can do, man. You have great coverage. It's a good call. Sometimes the other team's going to make a play too. 248-539-9797.
We'll preview the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming up next 97 won the ticket.
Hey, when was the last time you enjoyed a game of tennis, pickleball, or golf? Or how about taking an evening hike or walk, but you're able to do it all pain-free? If your arthritis, old sports injuries, or joint pain is preventing you from the activities you love, you need to call Straith Orthopedics. Dr. Derek Hill is highly trained in treatment for the hip and knee, specializing in a special anterior approach hip replacement with very little downtime, rapid recovery techniques, and non-surgical multi-pain modal treatments. Dr. Hill can get you on the road to living a life free from pain. Listen to what Neil, a Straith Orthopedic patient, shared about his experience. He writes, prior to surgery, I was very limited. Standing or walking caused pain. I had total knee replacements at Straith Orthopedics using the robot-assisted procedure. Today, I am back to my daily 2-mile walk without pain. My doctor took the time to explain options and provided answers and recommendations to my questions. Neil, thanks for sharing your story. You too could start living your life pain-free so you can get back to all the favorite activities that you have, whether it's walk, golf, pickleball, doesn't matter. Just call Straith Orthopedics at 855-STRAIGHT or go online to straith.org. That's STRAITH.org. Straith Orthopedics is committed to you.
248-539-9797. TJ, I got John's reaction to it when it happened, but you also being an offensive lineman, different positions, obviously, but Jason Kelsey announced he's done.
Did he announce that today?
He told his team after the game.
I heard he told the
Yeah, Schefter reported it. I don't think he's
Okay.
publicly come
Right.
out and said it, but
Yeah, because I know he didn't talk after the game.
Right, and there was a shot on the sideline of
he was
him
emotional.
hugging with his offensive line coach.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, he's gonna be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, he will. Heck of a career, man. What, 5th or 6th round pick? I think in 2011. Man, he's been a staple of not only that offense, but the standard of what offensive line play looks like over the past decade plus. So that's not really a surprise. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched. I think it was Amazon Prime did a documentary on him. It was a good.
Yeah, it
watch.
was
I mean,
good.
he's-
It was supposed to be on both of them, but it was mostly on him.
He's a good. He just seems like a great guy, great teammate.
Yep.
They followed him around. It was really entertaining to watch, and even in that documentary, you could his wife was like, "You're not playing another year," so I think
Right.
he had to kind of fight to even play this year.
Yes, he did,
So,
yeah.
for him to be done is not a surprise, and he looked emotional. You can usually tell at the end of games which ways players are leaning, but he's been a hell of a player, man. Like you said, he'll be a Hall of Famer.
And he seems like a great guy, like you guys are when you go to bars and stuff like that. You don't play the the celebrity card. You talk to people, and I know he lives not too far away from my sister, and people see him every once in a while, and he's just really a cool dude, and it glorifies. It's good for you guys when you see offensive linemen, I think, get the publicity that you guys usually don't get.
Well, I think that it depends on which town you're in. There's
Right.
certain cities that appreciate the hardworking, gritty guys.
Right.
Like Detroit's one of them.
Yeah.
Philadelphia,
Yes.
one of them. Tough city. You know what I mean? You appreciate the tough players. If you went and played in L.A., something like that, I don't think anybody would care who you are.
No.
Right. People
Green
don't
Bay-
care about win.
Yeah,
Nobody cares there
But,
anyway.
Green Bay was the same type of city.
Yes.
They like just the blue collar work ethic, and that's what offensive linemen try to represent. So that's why I think he's kind of reached that folklore status in Philadelphia, and obviously what he did after the the parade. I know
yes.
back in 2017, 18 when they won. That kind of took him to a whole new level out there of Philadelphia folklore. So
Yeah, and it's just his last tush push failed. last night.
It's really bad in Philly when that fails.
Yes.
Right.
It's
That was
so
kind of the
automatic.
final. That was
Yeah.
the final straw. That something's messed up here. We can't even run this play anymore.
I forget the name of the lineman, but he actually the defensive lineman got lower than Kelsey, which is almost impossible.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
key to stopping the play. All right, watching Tampa, you saw them up close and personal during the regular season.
Yeah.
You saw them play last night. And a lot of people, it's Tampa, it's this. It's not going to be an easy game. Their defense is really, really good.
They're really good. And I, remember kind of mocking them back in the offseason when Devin White came back and when some of the other guys, I think Jamel Dean, the corner, re-signed with them, and they said, "Hey, we want one more chance at this," and you're looking at that point going, "These guys are crazy. They're going to stink this year." They've really turned the corner though. They started the season 4-7. They've won 6 of their last 7 now. I mean, their defense they are legit. They are really, really good. And I go back to that first matchup. Jahmyr Gibbs was hurt. He didn't play.
Correct.
And David Montgomery got hurt that game. That was the one
Yep.
where he fell on the ball and hurt his ribs. So the rushing game, I just pulled it up, 22 carries, 40 yards.
It evaporated.
Right, yeah, really, really bad. Jared Goff had a really good game, 30 of 44, 350, 2 touchdowns. And our rush defense, was fantastic. I think that was maybe one of the first games where they really started to turn the corner, held Rashad White to 26 yards. But going back to that game, I remember it was closer than the 20-6 final because there were a couple plays there. I don't know if you guys remember where, Baker took a couple shots downfield, and I think there were
Drop
2
passes.
that were, probably going to be 60, 70-yard plays that they dropped or were just a little bit overthrown. Early in that
Evans
game,
dropped one.
Early in that game, you blew a coverage, and Mike Evans probably could have gone for an 80-yard touchdown if Baker would have seen. It was actually on a Will Harris interception that got tipped. So this is a better team than what they look like on paper. And Baker Mayfield is kind of, like Coach said, he's kind of gotten back to that, cocky type, arrogant, confident quarterback that we saw coming out of college. And for him to kind of now come full circle with his career where he was at the top of the mountain and then he had to go all the way down to the bottom and learn how to climb back up again. He seems like he's an easy guy to root for now, and he looks like that team takes on his identity, where it's the toughness, it's the arrogance, it's the competitiveness. Like, you know what I mean? It looks like it's contagious to the rest of that team. But I'll tell you, you're going to have a good plan offensively because their defense, they fly around. I mean, we saw it last night. Their defensive line is really, really good. Vita Vea is one of the best players in the NFL. You're going to have a plan for it. You're going to have a plan for Levante David and for Devin White. I mean, those are two of the best inside linebackers. So, you know, I think it'll be a good game. It's going to be a good game. Now, kind of going back to, you know, what John talked about a few segments ago, this feels like our defensive line is going to have to find a way to dominate. You know what I mean? You look at Tampa's offensive line, and they're doing a nice job, but they've got some young. Their left tackle Tristan Wirfs is good, but everywhere on that offensive line, a lot of guys that have been backups their whole career. A lot of guys that are young players. The right tackle Gedeke is a young guy. The right guard Cody Mauch is a rookie. So this seems like a game defensively that you're going to have to try to dominate. As long as you stop the run against Tampa, which has kind of been the recipe for this team, I think that's how you have success. But I after watching them last night, I'm expecting Tampa Bay's best effort this weekend. And if you take a team lightly, especially in the playoffs, you know, that's where you can get a Dallas Cowboyed and get your teeth kicked in. So, you know, I think it's going to be a good game come Sunday.
Now a verb.
Yes.
Dallas Cowboyed.
Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah,
Chargers going to Charger. Cowboys going to Cowboy. Gator is here. Carson Anderson coming up next. How you doing, Gator?
I'm doing well.
Yes.
Before we get into that, I had a quick question for the two linemen in the room.
Oh, thank you.
So Tampa blitzes a whole mess load. What's the best way to combat the team that blitzes as much as they do?
Yeah, a couple quick hitters for big plays. You get that ball out. You pick up. You find ways. You figure out, okay, where you're coming. What's your best protection? And, you know, it might be – I didn't like David Montgomery in protection. I don't know if you've seen that on film, TJ.
Yeah.
He didn't do a great job there. But if you can find a way to slow down 6 with 5 or 7 with 6, you're always going to have one less blocker. But then you can find, you know, Jared Goff, find that receiver that's either one-on-one or can get the ball quickly, because there's some monster plays that are available when you're hitting those quick passes on a team that blitzes like that.
So I was wondering if, like, Jamison Williams, this is a game where he comes in and goes just straight speed, you know, sprint down the left sideline. It's like backyard football. I'm just going to throw it as high and as deep as I can right away because I know the blitz is coming.
It doesn't always have to be that way, but also if you know where the blitz is coming, run right into the teeth of the blitz. Like, sometimes you'll run right by it.
Yeah, you can get some big runs that way too. And screens, you know, running back screens are not really a staple of this offense. I mean, they don't run much at all. Just the typical, hey, we're going to protect and then get the lineman out front. They do it with the receivers a lot, but I think if you can find a way to bounce a couple of those with your running back, that's how you kind of force teams out. And look, there's other ways where if you're bringing max pressure and you say, hey, I'm keeping the tight end on this play, and his guy blitzes, you can also find some huge plays there too if you catch him in a little delayed route coming out of the backfield. So, but yeah, picking them up or hitting some of those quick screens, that's the best way to get them out of that.
All right, let's go to Two Grand Slam Tuesday edition with Gator. You ready?
Sure.
Our contestant got 6 correct earlier today. Here we go. Who led the Lions in receiving yardage against the Rams Sunday night?
St. Brown.
Who wears jersey number 26 for the Lions?
Gibbs.
This band had the 1987 hit Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Def Leppard.
Who led the Chiefs in receiving yardage against the Dolphins on Saturday?
Rice.
The Lions-Bucks playoff game will air on this television network.
Fox.
What is the capital of the state of Washington?
Olympia.
Who did the Michigan men's basketball team play yesterday?
Ohio State.
Who did Alabama recently hire as their head football coach?
Kalen DeBoer.
Who currently leads the NBA in assists per game?
I don't know.
Who led the Packers in receiving yardage against the Cowboys on Sunday?
Packers. Aaron Jones?
You got 7 correct.
Jones had a big touchdown. I don't know. Who?
Yeah, Romeo Doubs.
Romeo Doubs. Tyrese Halliburton leads the NBA in assists. And the Lions game.
Why
will be
would you
on
know that?
NBC.
I told you, Gator.
Yes.
Too late, TJ.
Yes. What's up, boys? How are you? I got to see some pictures of Gator's abode Sunday. at the Lions game.
What are you talking about?
I showed him the pictures I sent you guys of with the storm damage with the tree,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
the giant tree that fell on my fence,
Yeah.
and incidentally, power lines.
Yes.
He's still
Oh.
displaced.
I know.
Yeah,
So you're not over electrified, you're under electrified.
this is true. Yeah, it's not good. No fun.
No.
What do you guys got going today?
Lots of Lions talk, and we'll start in on Tampa preview.
All right. 97.1 The Ticket.
All right, we're going to speak with Jared Goff today at 10:30. Detroit Lions quarterback, our guy. First, we got a special request in because Gator had heard the story, and I had not heard the details. And TJ told it during the postgame. TJ Lang has stuck around. TJ, you did something I think every Detroit Lion fan wanted to do. You actually did it.
Yeah.
You actually did it. And that is the end of the first half. You're doing sidelines, of course.
Correct.
And there's the Taylor Decker false start call where dude was in the neutral zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Bad
so you when you saw it live, what did you think?
I thought, here we go again. And
You knew immediately it was somebody in the neutral zone.
I did. And I was not looking directly down the line,
Right.
maybe about 5 yards ahead of that. And you're thinking, okay, maybe he did something. Maybe he flinched his arm. Maybe he Taylor Decker did something. I gotta pull the replay up, right? And the great part of social media these days is you get instant replays.
Sure.
So I'm on the sideline and I'm looking, and I right away I knew it was offside. So I knew they messed the call up, but I said I got to reconfirm this. I got to see something that happened, and I go back and watch the replay, and it's clear as day. Offsides. Like, I
Right.
don't know how you mess that up.
Right.
So the halftime guys are getting ready to do their show, which was Collinsworth, his son,
Jack
I think,
Collinsworth.
Rodney Harrison, Tony Dungy, and I had spoken to these guys earlier in the game, and I'm standing next to Rodney Harrison, a defensive guy, and I said, watch this replay. Like, tell me what you think. And he was like, oh my, that's 1,000% offsides. So that just kind of fueled the fire. So
And if in the moment it was a huge call. The
massive
Lions are
call.
driving,
Yeah.
their offense hasn't been stopped. It feels like they're, one first down away from field goal range. They're going to get points at the end of the half.
Yeah, and even if you get that call, let's say you just kick a field goal, right? It's points off the board. And so that kind of fueled the fire. We end up punting the ball back. The Rams get the ball. They ran the clock out. But so I go through my normal process. I'm going up to the tunnel, and I'm fuming. I mean, I'm showing everybody this replay that I can. Just trying to get an explanation. Why is this?
And
why
by
is this a
everybody,
false
you mean
start?
other media
Why?
members, or you talking
Media
about
members, some
staff
of the
members of Lions or whatever, people behind the
equipment
scenes.
guys that I'm kind of
Yeah.
walking with, some guys that I interact with on a
So you were
daily
in the
basis.
tunnel. You're
I'm walking up the tunnel,
showing people the replay?
showing people, yeah, and we're all trying to figure out the same thing.
Sure.
Because I couldn't hear the TV copy. I wanted to hear what
Show me
Tirico,
how this is
what
possibly a
Collinsworth
false start.
said.
Yeah.
Right, give me something, right? Hey, Decker did this, give me something. And nobody could give that to me, so I was confused. And I just, I'm still kind of coming off of that Dallas game where we were all still a little bit tender with the referees. And so I'm standing at the top of the tunnel, and halftime goes by really fast in the NFL. And I didn't realize this, but I'm showing a group of guys, we're talking about the play. I'm showing them my phone with the replay on it. And I turn around, and the referees start walking out of their dressing room. And
you've got the replay.
Let me say, I will say this, and I said this on the postgame show. I should not have done anything. But the fan in me turned around and, kind of motioning to the ref, hey, do you want to see the replay? What's since when is this off? Since when is this not offsides?
Hey, you want to borrow my glasses?
I said it in a subtle way, but I was pissed. I was hot. And I shouldn't have done that, but he put me in my place. I mean, he turned and kind of gave me the threat of, hey, do you want to early ride out of here tonight? Buddy? He gave me one of those.
You almost got kicked out.
I came back to reality very fast. I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be awkward if I call Dan Miller and say, hey, we don't got a sideline guy for the second half. So it just like I said, man, it was something I regretted. I shouldn't have done, but in that moment, it was just you wanted an explanation. You know what I mean? You wanted an explanation,
right. And why wait for the pool reporter when you got TJ Lang at halftime?
I'll be the pool reporter,
There we go.
halftime reporter. So it was a funny encounter. I'm glad that. In that moment, I had the sense to kind of back off. I'm like, okay, this is unacceptable. No way should I be talking to the referee, but I want an explanation. And
That's so
as soon
funny.
as he threatened to kick me out of the game, it was like, okay, I'm a sideline guy. This isn't my job.
You guys have a tough job.
It's
You guys
not
have
my
a tough job.
It's not my job to ask these guys.
He served you a
It was
hot
fun.
piping bowl STFU.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, well,
He gave me some humble pie for sure. That was.
I think everybody
fun.
appreciates you being hot, and like you said, there's a high degree of sensitivity coming out of Dallas.
Big time.
I will say less so today. Now that Dallas will be watching Detroit host a playoff game next week,
Yeah. But there was a lot of poetic karma, I think, this weekend.
I
Not
think
only
so,
us
too.
getting through our past and Stafford and winning a playoff game, but Dallas, right? You didn't deserve the 2 seed anyways. You know what I mean? Like everything seemed to work out in our favor. But I was a little bit on edge because there's always that question, and it might be ridiculous, but there's always that question of, man, what's going to happen today that's we're going to somehow get screwed.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
know exactly
And
what
look, at the end of the game, if that game goes different, that's probably a play that everybody's talking about afterwards. Man,
And yet-
they took points off the board. So
And yet that's another shining example of how SOL is dead and buried, because that is something that would have happened in the past. But this team, under this regime, has changed the culture so much that that doesn't define the game.
Correct.
That's just part of the game, and they get over it. And they
Yeah.
get through it.
Well, one thing I loved, by the way, was when the game was over, they were interviewing Aiden. They said, hey, you get to host a game you guys are hosting next week. And Aiden Hutchinson says, yeah, honestly, we were kind of really wishing we could go to Dallas.
yeah,
Because they
we wanted
were
payback.
going to go right the wrong. And that's the way that they're wired. But it's a great story, and I'm glad.
I will say this about the refs, though. I thought the second half they let them play, because there was a couple.
Well, they definitely let them play.
There was a couple plays where, and even on us too. I mean, where their
yeah,
defensive
without a
backs
doubt.
were.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying on Rams defensive backs, playing physical. There were a couple plays where our defensive backs, arguably, could have gotten a couple calls there.
There was
but
there was
did
a
let
hit
him
out of
play.
bounds. They could have called late hit. They didn't call it.
But I thought they weren't the storyline at the end of the day,
No.
which I appreciated. And look, that's all you want in playoff games, man. Let the players determine this thing. If something is egregious where you have to call it, then you have to call it. But at the end of the day, don't be the storyline. And after the incident at the end of the first half, I felt like they got out of the way.
I love it. TJ was hot, and the ref gave him the stare down, and TJ did the okay.
You know what happened right there? Here's what happened. TJ got the Lions the makeup call.
I'm definitely
I mean,
taking a
TJ
small part of credit for that.
intimidated. Listen, that referee when he saw you and you were all hot and bothered, and he's like, he piddled himself, right? And he's like, this is a big former NFL lineman. I gotta show some bark here. I gotta do something. And that's when he went, but literally piddled down his leg. And then he gets together with the rest of the officials because we screwed it up.
I think every time he was going to think about throwing a flag on the Lions, he thought about, I don't want to have to answer that big.
No,
dude standing at the
that's
end of the tunnel
100%
after this
it.
game. I'm going to tuck this one.
That's 100%
You're right,
it.
Gator. That's one way to look at it.
Well, anyway, I thought we thought the audience would find that
No,
funny.
it was
So
great.
yeah,
It was great. And like I said, I should not have done it.
Yeah, I know.
But I got a chance to represent all of Detroit.
Yeah,
in
you
that
did.
moment and kind of get my my little pound of flesh.
Yes, you did.
I ended up backing down, but hey, I got
No, you got what you wanted, TJ. You let them know. And in the end, they kept the flag in the pocket when they could have thrown it on a couple of PIs in the defense. Yeah. It's all right.
Job done.
Job well done.
Job done.
all right, my man, TJ Lang. Thanks for sticking
Have a
around.
good week, guys.
There it is. All
Hurry
right,
up before Jansen gets pissed at us.
Yeah,
Get out of
he's
here.
waiting for you to tape a podcast. We've got Jared Goff today at 10:30. Gator, we also have the predictions from Friday's show.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, interesting to look back, and we will get to that. Coming up today at 10:20, it's Carson Anderson, Lions quarterback Jared Goff, 20 minutes away. 97.1 The Ticket. Gator, I said yesterday on the air that what happened at Ford Field on Sunday, it might get duplicated this coming Sunday, but that overall organic feeling inside that stadium, the noise, the excitement level, the electricity, it's rare and it's temporary. It's rare because you have to walk across a 32-year desert to feel that kind of thirst and hunger. And I don't expect that to happen again. It doesn't happen very often. It's a unique set of circumstances that the people inside Ford Field had been across that desert. And it's temporary because you can do your best to mimic it all the time, but there's nothing like that those first couple of times that, and we're going to get it again Sunday because the people that were there know exactly what it was like this past Sunday and are going to try and duplicate it. And those that weren't there were jealous that they weren't there last Sunday, and they're going to come in guns a-blazing. And that's going to happen for a while before everybody sort of gets to, you hope everybody sort of gets to experience home playoff games. I guess I don't want to count our chickens before they hatch here a little bit, but it sure does feel like we've kind of turned a corner and have joined the NFL, and we could get used to this.
You definitely get used to it, but I always get worried about people getting priced out because it's expensive. Yep. And then hearing that standing room tickets for this game on Sunday, I think I heard yesterday we're at $500 for standing room tickets. I know I was told a story yesterday that somebody had bought standing room tickets for the game on Sunday night, and last minute, maybe I heard it on the show yesterday, that somebody said it was like $370.
Yeah.
I mean, for a standing room ticket, just to be in the building. I imagine it's going to get really pricey on Sunday. But the thing is, season tickets were sold out this year, right? For the first time at Ford Field, season tickets were sold out. This could be the norm. So those people are getting the opportunity. They get the first opportunity to buy playoff seats. And this is why you do it, because you want to have the opportunity to get them at face value as opposed to, oh, sweet Lord, look at the secondary market, what it's going to cost if I wanted a ticket on the 5-yard line. It's going to cost me $1,000 on the secondary market. But, hey, I have the opportunity because that's my season ticket. I can buy it for X amount of dollars.
So we'll look back at the predictions. We like to look back at what people predicted on Friday's show and circle a few of the predictions that stand out. And congratulations. Adam had a very close score, but for one of the dumbest reasons I've ever heard. With all respect to Adam, I give you a ton of credit.
I know exactly what you're going to say. I remember
Adam had the Lions winning 22-20. And his reasoning was that the Lions will have missed an extra point early in the game. And so they'll tie it late and go for 2. So let me start with this. And Adam, I appreciate sort of the creativity, maybe the outside the box thinking, but let's think about this. So the Lions are trailing
by 6,
20-14.
Yeah.
But they will have missed an extra point. Okay, so it's possible, right?
Sure,
you score a touchdown,
you score a touchdown right away, miss
extra
point, go for 2 the next time you score a touchdown, you get the 14, yeah.
Or you maybe have a touchdown, a field goal, and 2 safeties. Like, there's all kinds of ways you can get there. But then because they missed 1 extra point, instead of having Badgley kick an extra point to win the game, he had him going for 2 to win the game by 2.
That's right.
Yeah.
Score-wise, he was close.
So he was close.
Really close. Good job.
Yeah. Obi had Detroit winning 27-26.
Using the power of the force.
He said that there would be a missed Rams field goal late. They would keep Goff clean, make Stafford uncomfortable.
There was a missed field goal for them, didn't they? Did the Rams miss one?
I don't think so.
Am I hallucinating?
Yeah, you're hallucinating.
Okay.
Buffalo missed 2 yesterday.
Saw some missed field goals.
Joe had the Lions winning 24, the exact score, but to 17. He says he thinks the Lions will run the football and they'll put it together a game-winning 6 or 7 minute drive. So, I mean, look, they ran it reasonably well, but he got the Lions score correct. This one from Clark via ticket text. He had the Lions winning by 1. Dan Campbell is redeemed after the Lions win 32-31. Lions score a touchdown and top it off by going for 2 to win. Have fun with that anxiety.
Well, there was anxiety in the building for sure.
There was anxiety in the building.
Yeah, that was a ready, set, puke game without question.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So I'm going to ask you, since you were there, that game or the 2011 Bears game?
I still think it was the Bears game.
Do you?
However, it's tough for me because where I sit in the press box now is different than where I sat in the press box, where we sat in the press box for the Bears game.
Yep.
Back for the Bears game, before we got moved, we were like at the 50-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty great. And I felt like you would hear everything from the full force because you're in the middle of it. Now, since they've reconfigured it all, I'm over on the east end zone, basically. So it's a 50-yard difference. So it was loud as hell.
Yep.
Without question. But I can't help but think that the Bears was louder. That Monday night game was louder.
Well, I'm going to be interested. We're going to talk to Jared Goff here in a few minutes. Jared Goff played a bunch of games in Seattle.
Yeah.
And Seattle is known as the place.
Yep. 12th man a little bit.
Tons of votes yesterday for champ of the weekend being Lions fans, and understandably why. I mean,
the Lions, look, just because I said I don't know if it was or wasn't. Again, I'm in a different position, so I can't tell. It may have been louder. But, the Bears game had like almost double-digit penalty flags thrown because of delay games or timeouts or whatever. You could combine them all, false starts. Combine them all into one category, it was like almost double digits.
Right.
This one wasn't. But teams have gotten wiser since then, too, as to how to prepare for this. Stafford's been working with silent counts for a long time. He knows what's going on, and yet it still affected them. They still got called for, I think there was a false start in there. I forget if it was, there was one, it was a delay game, but they called it back because they said that McVay called timeout.
Right.
And that's the key, because they got him for, I think, a couple timeouts in the second half because the crowd was so damn loud.
it cost them.
And you look at the end of the game, it 100% cost him.
Cost them.
Fortunately, it was more exciting for me because of my lack of math skills, because I'm trying to think in my head, what do they need to salt this away? Is it just one more first down or not? And I saw them go into victory formation. I'm like, is that right? Are we already? What? Wait a minute. Yes!
Well, it's 40 seconds, Gator.
Thank you.
And then you add it to another 40 seconds.
So it just, as
Gives
I'm
you a
doing
minute
all
20
that.
in a third 40 seconds. It's 2 minutes. It was a
Doug,
2
it takes me some time.
Yep.
It just takes me some time.
You got
So
there.
once I figured it out,
You got there.
I got there because they took a knee. But once it did, like 10 seconds later, it finally clicks. No, they just clinched it, man.
Watching you be a football coach would be fascinating.
Well, that's not my forte with the timing and everything. I would hire somebody specifically for that. But yeah, nonetheless, it was just an awesome moment to see that. And I think even Jared said after the game he wasn't sure what was, it didn't sink in until a little bit later, and then he puts his arms up. And yeah, it was, everybody was just smiling ear to ear and laughing.
Well, let's talk to Jared Goff next here on Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Talk with Lions quarterback Jared Goff in a minute here on 97.1 The Ticket. And then we'll get to some open line calls. Gator's back today. Kang is back today. Yesterday, Gator, I just want to let you know the feedback we were getting. People were like, how can Gator take today off? And I was like, he's not taking today off. It's
no.
Federal holiday, and on holidays, one of us is here. It rotates back and forth who gets what day and holidays. Sometimes we have requests. Can I work that day? Can I have that day off? But that was the reason why. I suspect you wanted to be here.
I did. But by the time I got home or to the hotel, because I'm without power, I think it was close to 2:00 in the morning by the time that I was in my room. And I was thinking, it's not so bad not to do the show tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But I was awake in the morning. I'm like, I could do this, but I can't, I guess, because of the policy. But that's fine. Look, there was a lot I wanted to say. We got time this week. We can unpack it all at some point, but it was fantastic to be there, be part of it all, and the fans were unbelievable. They really were.
Meanwhile, our guy Kang, the stomach bug that went through first one of his daughters, then the other, then his wife, finally hit him. You okay today?
Well, I'm good there. I'm good, stomach wise. Headache is good. Not throwing up or anything like that. But it's been I don't want to give too much information here, but
dicey.
It's been 36 hours, guys. I've called the doctor. And he said, actually, it's normal that after a game like that to still be at 36 hours aroused. So he said, don't worry about it. That's normal. It's the first playoff win in 30 years. You might have another 12 hours in you, he said. I don't know.
I wondered where you were going with that. All right, let's talk to the quarterback. Indeed, Jared Goff with us here on 97.1 The Ticket. And as always, Jared, thanks for being with us. I love that we get to extend this another week and hopefully several more. But let's start with something you said after the game, that it was the best atmosphere you've ever been a part of. And I was thinking, well, he's played in Seattle, and Seattle's got a reputation. But do you think that was better than Seattle, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the greatest I've ever been in front of. And, our fans bring it. They really do. And I know they were excited for that one, as were we. And the challenge will be now, can they outdo themselves this week? But that was really unbelievable, and certainly the support for me personally was really special, and it was fun.
Can you discuss how tough it is to be the quarterback on the other team and to be on the other team when the fans are that loud?
Yeah, it's hard. It makes things difficult in the huddle. It makes things difficult at the line of scrimmage. It slows up communication here and there, and makes things hard. And teams that have a home field advantage like we do, it really does make a difference. It forced 2 timeouts for them early in the third quarter, which I'm sure they didn't want to do, and allowed us to only need one more first down at the end of the game there.
It definitely is a real advantage. But at what point did it hit you that you actually get to do this again this week in front of these fans for at least another playoff game? And could you even hear yourself talk while the defense was on the field?
Yeah, no, you couldn't really. Like, we'd be doing like little sideline adjustments. You kind of had to wait till the play was over, and then can go back to doing it. But yeah, they were great. They were loud. We knew once Green Bay won earlier in the day, we knew we had that chance. If we would have won, we'd go on and play another one at home next week. And as we are now against the Bucs, we know who we got. It'll be another fun one.
I said yesterday on the air, I think I could spend the entire 10 minutes with Jared talking about the last pass. Let's start with, it's the 2-minute warning. You guys have a 2nd down and 9, and knowing one first down ends it, but also knowing they have a timeout, you could run it, drain their timeouts. There's all kinds of different approaches to this. Take us into that huddle with you and Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson and the discussion that led to the play call. What were you guys talking about?
Yeah, at the end there, you're saying?
Yeah, right after the 2-minute warning, you had a 2nd and 9, the completion to Amon-Ra. But you made the call to throw it on 2nd down. What went into that discussion?
Yeah, I think, I was certainly not 100% sure that a first down got us the game over. So I think we were kind of a little bit in limbo there on what we wanted to do. And I remember Ben saying, in my head, hey, man, we're going to stay aggressive here. We need to get this first down. I'm like, all right, great. And he called that play. We've ran that play 100 times since I've been here. And it's basically St. Brown go win against the nickel corner. And, it's a one-on-one route. He went and won. It's a pretty easy pitch and catch when the receiver wins like that. And yeah, it was a good play call and one that we'll remember forever.
So when he gets to the top of that route, do you know which way he's going to break, or is that something where you guys are kind of on the same page, looking at the way the defense is playing you? How does that work?
Yeah, we have a pretty good idea pre-snap of how he's going to do it based on what they look like on defense, and then as he gets into his route, I know for sure which way he's going to come out of it, and yeah, he ran it perfect.
You know, you guys, you had a chance to obviously address the team afterwards in the locker room, and at some point you said, against whoever the blank wants to come in here, getting ready for the next game. Can you talk about how your confidence in this team has grown year to year and why it's where it is at? And, you know, is it at an all-time high right now?
Yeah, it is really. I mean, we're as confident as we've been and playing good ball, you know, won a few in a row now. And it's fun to play at home, man. I think that was the message there is that, you know, whoever wants to come in here and feel this crowd, feel this ruckus environment and you know, try to win a game in our place, you know, good luck to them, and we'll be ready to go.
Well, that opponent is going to be Tampa Bay. You know this now after watching the games last night, and they like to blitz. This is nothing new. You guys faced Tampa earlier in the season. You won at Tampa 20-6. But now they like to blitz a lot. What are the advantages of facing a team that brings the heat constantly?
Yeah, well, you know, it's always a challenge picking it up in protection, but when you do pick it up, there's voids all over the field, and typically when teams blitz like that, they're willing to leave those voids, banking on getting home, and yeah, they're one of those teams. Sometimes they get home, sometimes they don't, but they're a really good defense and a team that gave us some challenges earlier on in the year, and we'll have our hands full again.
I want to go back to a couple of plays in that game. The Sam Laporta touchdown, fourth down, we all expect Dan Campbell to go for it almost every fourth down now, but obviously he doesn't. But that's 4th and 1. That's an obvious place to go for it. Was that play to Laporta, was he your first read, or had you moved on through your progressions to find him?
Yeah, he's you know, to be honest, he's really the only read on that play. And their defense presented something we really weren't looking to get there, and kind of played it a little differently than we expected. So he kind of just ad-libbed at the top of that route and came across the back of the end zone, and we were both on the same page with it. And yeah, he's a hell of a player, and that's what good players do, is just, you know, kind of find each other in those moments. And yeah, he made a great play, man.
When did you know he was going to play in this game?
When did I know for sure?
Yeah.
Probably Thursday after practice.
Oh, okay. Well, certainly having him helped. And speaking of guys who stepped up, Josh Reynolds, in the first 2 drives, you guys didn't face a third down. We're right down the field and scored it, and it was the Reynolds show. That's a chemistry you've had with him for a long time. What a performance by Josh.
Yeah, he really showed up, man. He really did. And I think that, you know, his whole story may get lost a little bit in this, you know, last week, but he was a part of that team for a long time too, as was I. And you know, he was, you know, basically sent elsewhere as well. Excuse me, sorry, it's my dog.
Very upset.
Hold on. What, do we got the UPS driver pulling up or something?
Is there a squirrel?
Probably. I knew it was going to happen. He likes to do
First
it when I'm on the phone. But yeah, Josh had a hell of a game and really showed up for us.
So the word grit, you know, gets thrown around. Dan Campbell brings it out there. It's not just a buzzword. I mean, it really means something. It's something tangible too. And you've got examples like Anzalone toughing things out, Laporta toughing it out. What does grit mean to you?
Yeah, it's what we're about, man. It really is. It shows, you know, who we are. It's our culture. It's what Dan has infused into us, and it makes us tough to beat when we play that way and really embody that. And that was, I think, Dan's whole vision and Brad's whole vision when they got here was building a team and building players who can represent that and you know, make sure that, you know, we can uphold that.
What can you say about your defense? Held them to 6 points in the second half, came up with the big stops when necessary, played one of their better halves of the game. I mean, Matt Stafford had a really, really good game. Nakua is unbelievable, but that defense got the stops specifically in the red zone. What can you say about those guys?
Yeah, they did, man. They really did. They showed up there in the red zone and really helped us out in that second half. We were only able to get 3 points for them, and I think the whole game, the possessions were scarce, man. It was, you know, if you get a possession, you got to take advantage of it. And in that second half, their defense did a good job against us, and our defense did a good job against them. And you know, it's a 1-point win, and they all count the same. So yeah, our defense really stepped up for us there in the second half and made those stops.
So I suspect that this offseason your phone's going to be kind of ringing off the hook with free agents asking you questions about what it's like to play for Dan Campbell, what it's like to play with with and for Ben Johnson and what's like to play in Detroit. What would you tell them, and what have you had to tell people maybe if they've called in the past?
Yeah, if you want to play for a real, genuine dude who cares a whole hell of a lot about his players, come over here. It's a fun place to play. He keeps it fun. He keeps it light, but also keeps us extremely accountable and is as fun as anyone I've ever played for and is as genuine as anyone I've ever played for.
And what about Brad Holmes? I mean, there was a video of him going into the elevator, yelling, going crazy. I think we've asked you before about his overly aggressive high five. I'd be afraid to engage in a high five with Brad Holmes after a win, but it was really heartfelt afterwards, him getting the game ball and how much that you guys mean to him and his vision and Dan Campbell's vision kind of, jibing together.
Yeah, sure. And I know his history with the Rams as well would make that one a little extra special too. But Brad has done a great job, man, ever since I got here and their vision, and they stuck to it, man. It's not easy. There's always, emotional decisions that you can make, and I think that they haven't. They've stuck to their plan, and whether or not you guys agree with it every step of the way, I think that's the part that they don't really care about. They just do what they think is right and not listen to any outside noise and people telling them who to draft, when to draft, who to sign, when to sign, and they don't know anything. These guys in our building know what's going on, and Brad and Dan and everyone on Brad's staff up there is doing a hell of a job.
Dan Campbell answered this during the morning show, and how much does it help? And does it help or hurt either team that you guys have played before and you beat them? Talking about Tampa this Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a long time ago. It was early in the year. We're both, extremely different teams now, and I'm not sure if they had all their guys up that game, and I certainly know we had some injuries as well. So it's a completely different team. It's also at a different location, and they're playing really good ball right now, and we'll have our hands full.
So for the playoffs, they've added some new stuff at Ford Field. For the night game, it was really cool to see the light show that they had. They've got the pyro going on. Lots of celebrities in the house at Eminem, Big Sean, Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson. Who do you want to see that come to Ford Field that maybe you haven't seen just yet? And have you ever been starstruck by celebrities?
Eminem's like the biggest one for me for sure. Seeing him at these games is like the coolest thing. And I met him last year. He came to practice, and that was like a big one for me to be like, well, that's somebody I grew up really, a huge fan of and still am. And but I'm thinking now, and I think the only guy, I don't know if I've seen him at a game yet, would be Kid Rock. I think that'd be pretty fun. I think the crowd would enjoy that.
And the crowd chanting Jared Goff, Jared Goff. Have you ever heard a Jared Goff chant in your career, and how cool was that?
No, that was the first time, and yeah, it was really cool. I think the support I felt from them, the support I have felt from them since I got here has been pretty incredible through the ups and downs, and kind of being in that moment there and hearing that, and given the circumstances, it was pretty special.
Well, Jared, as always, we appreciate your time. Thanks again for another win, and we are planning on doing this next week. So we'll talk to you then.
Perfect. All right. See you guys.
Thanks, Jared.
There he is, Detroit Lions quarterback Jared Goff here on 97.1 The Ticket. All right, so yesterday I was solo and spent a lot of time, Gator, on what one playoff win meant to me and what I think it meant to Detroit. But I kind of feel like, all right, the floor is yours, you and Kang. I mean, we're treating this probably different than most towns treat playoff wins because it's been 32 years. And forgive us if we have our moment.
Right. Forgive us if we've treated it like a Super Bowl.
But unless you've walked in our shoes. I kept saying, unless you've walked in our shoes, unless you've walked in our shoes. So with that said, I want your thoughts on what Sunday meant to you and to Detroit.
Well, it did mean a lot because we have been through a lot as Lions fans. You know, I've been a Lions fan since the late 70s, and we haven't seen a whole lot of successful things, clearly, with the one playoff win going into the game on Sunday night. We all know that. So when the game ends and when, like I said, when I finally figured out that, oh, by the way, we won, I mean, I just couldn't help but smile. And then that smile turned into laughter. I was like, this is amazing. And I got my phone out and I started the video of the crowd for the last 30 seconds or whatever. And Stoney's next to me and Stoney's doing the same thing and he's excited and, you know, kind of high five each other about it. And, you know, then I saw some, because the TV monitors are in front of us too. And there was a massive delay of like a minute and a half, which is crazy because normally it's like a 30-second delay on the TV screen, but this is a long delay. So at some point, I got to see some of the reaction from people in the crowd and you saw the tears in people's eyes. And I know some people on the outside are going to make fun of that, but you can't because these fans are so passionate about this team. They supported the team when they were 0-16. They demanded better. They have always demanded better. And we want to get to this point where we hope they're at right now, which you go back to 1991, and this is the feeling we had in 91 when you had Barry Sanders and, you know, entering his third season in the league or whatever it was, and hey, that was a 12-14. We like where they're going. Unfortunately, in the offseason, during the season with Utley and then Andelsek in the offseason and other just mishandling of contracts and whatnot, that fizzled out, and we didn't get to see it, and it's been forever. And I'm sitting in the press room afterwards, and you know, I don't know why things just started. Different emotions came to me. Now, I'm looking over to my left, and there's Mike O'Hara of the Detroit News, who's covered the team forever. I think since the late 70s, he's been covering the Lions.
Portsmouth.
Exactly. And he's affectionately known as Moose throughout the media circles. Everybody loves him. And the person who's sitting immediately to his left is Peter King. You know, Peter King, the national guy. He can sit anywhere he wants, but he chooses to sit next to the elder statesman in the room, showing respect. And I just started thinking about, you know, how it's difficult to think about how much this means to a lot of people because you start thinking about people that aren't here. And we think about like Drew Sharp. And, you know, Drew was a huge Lions fan. A massive Lions fan. And unfortunately, his life was cut short. And, you know, Drew would joke about this team all the time because that was just his mechanism. But he was truly a Lions fan, and we would talk about it all the time. You know, Killer Kowalski, same way. I mean, Tom was a big guy, and I can't help but think about the interactions Tom would have had with Dan Campbell, two big guys. I'm sure it would have been a lot of fun. And then you start thinking about everybody else, and of course Jamie, with Jamie Samuelson, and you know Jamie the same thing, quick-witted, brilliant, and how much he would have appreciated this, and you know to be able to experience that with his family and his kids, that finally get to see this winning team take place, and him having been here since the mid '90s and all that, you know, and then just other people that you know here at the station that aren't here, and I don't know why my mind started going there and thinking about. You know, Stryker and Rebecca, who was our promotions director, and how she would be planning some massive events coming up with all this, and Gunny, you know, one of our board ops who, you know, loved Detroit sports and all that. Everything just came kind of flooding to me, and I was getting a little emotional while all this was going on in the press room. But it means a lot. It does mean a lot because this team, for whatever reason, is the one team that brings us all together. You know, you've got niche fans that are hockey fans. You've got diehard Piston fans, but there's a lot of bandwagon fans that come along with it. The Tigers feels like it's always woven in the fabric of who you are here in Detroit, but the Lions, this is different, man. Everybody's a Lions fan. You can have people that say they're Lions free and they don't care, but they care now. They absolutely care now. And the fan base is absolutely incredible to show up year in and year out, whether the team was good or not. The fans cared an awful lot. And it means so much to this city, to the metro area, to the whole community. Lions fans everywhere are loving this season and loving what this team can do and how much further they can go. And, we can dare to dream. They're going to host another playoff game and perhaps play in an NFC championship game. And that would be absolutely incredible.
Well, I think a lot of people's minds wandered to those that aren't around to see this. I mean, the father-son calls we got yesterday were pretty special. And I told the story about, my kids growing up and my son turning to me when he was 13, 14 years old after Michigan lost another game to Ohio State. And I thought this was supposed to be fun. I mean, with tears in his eyes. And now he's a senior at Michigan. He's 3-0 and he's got a national championship. And I'm like, hey, you having fun yet? You get to come full circle. And those kids that grew up in Detroit and never saw something like this. And it's only one playoff win. And I keep reminding myself, it's just one, but it means so much more than anybody else's won because of what we've been through. What we've been through is rare. And unfortunately, there's a shelf life on this first time feeling,
right.
But I hope we can bottle it and keep it with us moving forward. You heard Jared Goff. I was going to joke with Jared at the end, but we kind of ran out of time about he's challenging the fans to make it even more loud this weekend. And I don't have any doubt that the fans will step up to the challenge because the thirst and hunger and the long drought is still fresh. But now I think there's a realization that, holy S, we got a shot. We got a shot.
Yeah.
And it's not a long shot. We got a shot. And it's something we're not accustomed to. It's something we've had with the Red Wings, something we've had with the Tigers, something we've had with the Pistons, Michigan and Michigan State fans. We haven't had it with the Lions in 32 years where we've had this kind of affirmation. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened in that game that felt like I could safely say the biggest of my lifetime. I think Badgley's kick was the biggest field goal of my lifetime.
It is. 54 yards.
And we've had great kickers. We've had great kickers.
Great kickers that haven't had the opportunity.
Nope.
Eddie Murray.
Well, one did.
Well, yeah.
But he was a great kicker.
Right.
He was a great kicker.
Yeah. And Jason Hansen, one of the best ever, just never had really the opportunity to kick a meaningful field goal.
Yep. So anyway, Kang, I want to get your 2 cents on what it means to you, but we're short on time. So 248-539-9797. We'll get to our producer's thoughts. Then your phone calls will start knocking them down. And at 11:30, we're going to get into the Tampa game a little bit because we get another football game. And it's a big one. And I'll just say, I kind of like the matchup. I'm sure I'm not the only one. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1, The Ticket.
Well, the Buccaneers say they are ready for the challenge of traveling to Ford Field for the next round of the playoffs. They're 6-point underdogs, and quarterback Baker Mayfield wants to bounce back from their loss to Detroit in Week 6. Now, Dan Campbell, he agrees that the Bucs are a much better team now, but he also says, so are we. And also, there is no way this team should be satisfied yet, he says, despite the emotion of the first playoff win in 30 years. Meanwhile, the Jim Harbaugh NFL interviews are happening, including the Chargers yesterday. Dan Wetzel of Yahoo Sports says that the big sticking point in Harbaugh's deal on the table with Michigan right now is language that would grant immunity from firing him due to NCAA investigations. The contract would make him the highest paid coach in college football. Now, The Athletic also put together a list of possible replacements in Ann Arbor if he does indeed leave. Bruce Feldman calls Sharon Moore the obvious path, and also brings up Lance Leopold of Kansas, Chris Kleeman of Kansas State, and even teased the idea of Brian Kelly if he's sick of LSU. Also, the Falcons announced that they have interviewed Bill Belichick for their opening. Plenty still wondering if Jerry Jones will go after the hoodie after his team was embarrassed in the wild card round. From the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Chris Villar. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket and Odyssey.com.
All right, Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. It's playoffs. It's playoff week here on 97.1 The Ticket. Brought to you by Amish Direct Furniture, and we get to do it a whole another week. Thanks to the Lions win over the Rams, 24-23, and now Tampa took apart Philly last night. Boy, did they end the thud. Started the season 10-1, and what are they now? They after that loss, 11-7. I mean, that's dysfunction right there because they are better than that. But we had a chance to get your 2 cents, Gator. Who you were out yesterday due to the holiday. Kang, you were as well. And I want your thoughts on what this win means to Detroit.
You know, I don't want to speak on behalf of Detroit because everyone's got a different feeling. Everyone's coming from a different place. It feels like when you're a Lions fan, and we've been doing this for so long in Detroit sports radio, that you almost Lions fans, they feel this need to tell you how long they've been a fan.
Yep.
Okay? Like it's hey, your credentials are in order. Here's my resume. Because the reason why they do it is to let you know how long they've suffered.
Mm-hmm.
This is to let you know how many scars they have, to let you know how many tears they've cried, to let you know the pain they've been through. So I get it. I'm not going to tell you how long I've been a Lions fan, but I've been a Lions fan for a long time, okay? But for me, personally, I can tell you how I felt when the clock hit 0 and Jared Goff turns around to the crowd to lift his arms up and toss the ball to the ref. It was surreal. It was absolutely surreal. I had a chance to go to the game. I did not go to the game because I needed to stay locked in. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was nervous. I tweeted out ready, set, puke as soon as the game started,
right.
And I just, my anxiousness, Doug, you said I was desperate. Yeah, call it whatever it was. I wanted it bad. And I had to be by myself, win or lose, in case something, bad did happen. Because there's been many times where I sat there after a game, after they got screwed or lost it themselves, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. It ruined my day. It ruined my week. So when they actually came through and the poetic justice of beating a guy who was here, who's your all-time leading passer, who was here for 12 years, right? Tough as nails. Great in the community. Great quarterback for this team. Whether you want to agree with that or not, it's true. They slayed the dragon that was him. All that came full circle. It didn't seem real. And when I took it in and I'm like, they did it. They actually did it. I didn't physically cry, but I could feel myself thinking, oh my God, I might cry. And then they show on TV, Gator, I don't know if you saw this, an 89-year-old man who had been a season ticket holder, who is still a season ticket holder for like 66 years or something like that, get to witness this at Ford Field. I mean, I just felt for everybody. Everyone that, whether you said that you were Lions free or not, I'm not judging you, okay? I've never given up hope on this team. Even when it seemed like it was very little hope, you still didn't think it was going to happen, even if you had that hope, and it happened. And yes, we didn't win the Super Bowl and act like you've been here before. But guess what? A lot of us have never been here before.
I'm throwing all that BS out the window. We're going to have our moment here.
Yeah, and I've stole this from, what was it, Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands. I didn't know what to do with my hands last Sunday night. It was amazing. It was unbelievable. Of course, we want more, but enjoy it, man. Because when it's all said and done, and you've asked Goff about this before, it's not time to reflect right now. As fans, we can reflect. As players, they can. They got to get ready for the next game. But when we look back at it, it's going to be a special season no matter what happens in the end because they finally did something that a lot of us thought they would never, ever do.
And that's exactly it, is a lot of fakes. The Lions faked us, tricked us. Well, we thought, this team might be good. This team might be able to do it. This team might win the division. And one of the curses of the Lions, unfortunately, is they have also been residing in the same division of one of the most, quite frankly, a brilliant organization in Green Bay for the last few decades.
Right.
And so even when the Lions were good, they weren't quite that good. So they couldn't win the division. So they couldn't get the home playoff game. And being at home matters. It clearly made a difference. I'm not sure they win that game on a neutral field. And I'm not sure they win it in L.A., although Lions fans might have showed up at L.A. In fact, they probably
would have showed up in L.A.
Actually, they would have showed up at a neutral field. So that might not be true because I don't know that Rams fans, quote unquote, travel.
Well, it was a tight game that was decided by a point, and I think home field advantage is what pushed it over the edge for the Lions. I mean, the defense, it was bend but don't break again, and it's not pretty and it turns your stomach, but it's worked. The last 4 games, look who they faced. Look what's happened here, right? You got Justin Jefferson the first time they faced the Vikings, and they have 200 yards receiving the first time. Then you have CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb goes off for whatever he went off for, near 200 yards. And then they get JJ again, and he does it again, right? But the common thread in all 3 of those games was Lions, they give it, I think, 23, 20, and 20 in those 3 games. And, of course, they should have won all 3, but we know what happened. Then you get to the playoff game, and Puka Nacua is ridiculous. He doesn't look like some rookie out there, some timid rookie. This guy looks like a seasoned pro. He's making plays. Not only is he catching every ball that's thrown to him, he's making guys miss. He's breaking tackles. He's en route to a near 200-yard receiving day as well. And it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. People can say, oh, this receiver's going to kill us. Okay, great. He's going to get his yards. And then what? And then they can't get into the end zone because the defense does what they need to do when it matters most. Team gets in a red zone. If you can turn those touchdowns, those sure touchdowns into field goals, you can win a lot of games. And that's what's happening here with this team is the defense is turning what you think are going to be touchdown drives into field goal drives, and it's a recipe for success.
Well, suffice it to say, it's a great feeling here in Detroit. And what's even a better feeling is not just being in the dance, not just advancing in the dance. It's knowing that this team has a shot to win the whole thing.
And they really do.
It's no longer, look, you and I have sat down before and say, all right, how can they win this game? Well, they're going to need so-and-so to play out of his mind. They don't need to do any out-of-body experience stuff to win a game in the postseason. If they go play their game, and I'll just hit on the early key to the Tampa game, and it just is, it's so stupidly simple, but do not turn the ball over against this team. It's one of the best turnover margin teams in the NFL. Outside of that, I love everything about the matchup. So, here they got a chance to take care of business at home. And then, I mean, I've seen it in my lifetime. They went to an NFC title game before, and they were there, but they were kind of ornamental.
Yeah.
It was Washington's coronation, and we were the Washington Generals on that day. But
it's I don't know. I look at the game on Sunday night. The way that it was going, the emotions started to change a little bit, and yet they felt the same throughout the whole game in a way as well, because the offense was flawless to start things off. Right? They get the ball, touchdown. They get the ball, touchdown. They get the ball, touchdown. And it felt like they had to play perfect offensively to win the game, because the Rams were doing the same thing. Although the field goal to start off, who knew that was going to be key in this game to hold them to 3 instead of 7? But then the Rams start catching up and get a touchdown. They get a touchdown. Then you have the offsides late in the first half, which really hurt them. The phantom offside, whatever. But then things changed in the second half where, okay, are the Rams going to come back? Are the Lions going to be able to make the adjustments defensively? I don't know. I mean, Nacua can be really good, but they kept them out of the end zone.
They kept them
It's
out of the
insane. And you know what? The Rams did the same thing. The Rams and the Lions are so close to each other. And I feel like both offenses at times need to play perfectly to get things done. You expect this is going to be a massive shootout. And in the end, the second half was about defense.
When you say
3
the
field
Rams
goals.
did the same thing, you mean they're just very similar teams. The Lions finished their drives.
Yes, exactly. That's the difference. And then the Lions had, a running game that could get them into the end zone, whereas the Rams didn't. Kyron Williams, stopping him was key in that game. And aside from one play, they kind of did. He held under 4 yards of carry, except for one play where he goes for 15. And you shut down the running aspect, you turn him one-dimensional, and it's exactly what they faced against Dallas and Minnesota.
One of my favorite parts about their red zone success defensively is remember they hit the quarter post earlier in the season, and Dan Campbell, evaluating his team, said, we have got to be better in the red zone defensively. We have got to be better. And when it mattered most, they were better, a lot better.
It's in the playoffs, you're going to play good teams, right? And teams are going to step up. It's all about timely stops and timely first downs, and that's exactly how that game finished off. They were able to stop them when they needed the most, and Campbell, by the way, ballsy, great call, whatever you want to call it, to accept the penalty and push the Rams back.
Right call.
It's the right call. Yeah, get them out of field goal range.
And then you trust your defense to stop them one more time. They did that, and then you will trust your offense to go get the first downs to ice this game, and they did that.
248-539-9797. We talk to the people next. Phone calls, feedback. Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, every home has a water score. Do you know what yours is? Telltale signs like water spots, dingy laundry, or dry skin indicate your water score isn't as high as it should be. Contact CGC Water, your authorized independent Connecticut dealer, to find out your water score. They'll test your water and survey your home to rank your water. If you aren't satisfied with your water score, CGC can recommend the Connecticut water treatment solution to improve it. Call 855-339-4242 or visit cgcwater.com. All right, let's get to the people. 248-539-9797. Playoff week brought to you by Amish Direct Furniture. We get to do it all over again. Let's go. We talked to Paul. You're on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Paul.
Good morning, guys. I just want to tell you that you two guys are the best storytellers on the radio.
You think?
But I've been a Lions fan for
100
years. I'll be 86 pretty soon. 1957, I'm in the day room at Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, about 5 days in the military. And I'm in the day room watching the 57 Lions beat Cleveland for the championship. I'm the only guy that's watching the TV. There's guys playing ping pong, pool, darts, cards. They must have thought I was nuts. But what do I get out of that? 66 years later, I'm watching a playoff game in Detroit. And the gift is a victory. And I'm watching 3 sons, my wife, daughter-in-laws, full family. And I'm not bawling like a baby, but the tears, I can't stop the tears. It's such a joy for me and for my family. It was amazing. Those are 2 days in my lifetime that I will never forget. I may make it to 90, I don't know. But those days are so special. And to listen to the crowd on TV, amazing. They must have been hoarse on the way home.
Paul, I'll take issue with one thing you said there. You said, I wasn't crying like a baby, but I couldn't stop the tears. I think by definition, when you can't stop crying, you're crying like a baby.
Yeah, I probably am.
Well, we're happy for
it. Such a joy. And to listen to you guys come up with stories of other people and the TV cameras catching reactions in the stands. All of that means so much to me. I'll never forget that.
Awesome.
And I can't wait until Sunday. Everybody's coming back again, so I got to get the Kleenex ready.
There we go. Paul, thank you. Thank you for sharing. 248-539-9797. Bill is next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Bill.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning. Yeah, I can. That was a great call you just had. That was tremendous.
Yeah.
I could say as a fan whose first memory of the Lions was rooting for the Lions was the 5-0 loss at Dallas. It meant a lot, and it was kind of like Kang was saying. The way that game ended, they got the first down, and even Jared was saying the same thing. Like, we weren't sure whether we needed another first down or not, and then I'm like, yeah, they got a first. I knew it was huge, and then I see him kneeling down, and I'm sort of like confused. I'm like trying to do math in my head. And I'm
you were like me, man. I wasn't sure.
I was like, what are they doing this?
Are they going to give him the ball back with 10 seconds? What are we doing?
Yeah, and then it just sort of it didn't hit right away, and then it just grew from there. I mean, it was kind of like a delayed reaction, and and one more point I want to make, and I know I don't want to be I don't want to bring something negative into this, but I think I want to do this while it's fresher in people's minds. That the halftime gross ad that NBC did, patting themselves on the back about Peacock.
No.
This is a cautionary tale to everybody out there.
It's a mess, Bill, because that game, that Miami-Kansas City game is being considered a wild success. And unfortunately, what the message that's sent to the business is we can make people pay more for this. And I hear you. Like they were thanking the customer. The customer is probably thinking, F you. I didn't have to pay for this before.
Yeah, I didn't have a champ or chump vote yesterday, but if I had a chump vote, it was going to be the NFL. 3 strikes. I mean, what they did with the jersey giveaway, what they did with with Jeff Glover and all that, what they did with the Imagine Theater. They were going to have people come by. They nixed that as well. And then they go ahead and puff out their chest because we got 20-some million people to buy into Peacock on a pay-per-view, basically.
Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. And I will tell you.
And then threatening TJ Lang.
I just happened to be in a bar Saturday night where I kept seeing the spinning wheel on their feed. And I'm like, this is the problem. We can't have, and then one TV is a minute and a half ahead of the other TV, which is had to buffer. And I'm like, this is.
Careful,
this is
don't let the NFL find out about that, because then they're going to make sure that that bar paid their fair share, because it's expensive to carry a streaming service game.
248-539-9797. Ray is next on 97.1 A Ticket. Hi, Ray.
Hey, I'm 60 years old. My first Lions jersey was 1970, a Steve Owens jersey I got for Christmas.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've just been a hardcore Lions fan, but just a real peripheral NFL fan. I watch the Lions every week, go to a game a year, taking my kids, but once this playoffs, I kind of tune out, come back for the Super Bowl. But this year's been totally different. I've been watching every NFL game I can find. I'm scouting all their opponents for next week, and I can't get enough of it. And it's like, wow, this is what my friends and family have been doing for years in Pittsburgh and Seattle.
Yeah,
it's like it's just been something totally brand new for us Lions fans. That it's like, wow, this is really fun, and I've been missing out.
I said it last week, and I kind of mean it. It feels like we finally got an NFL team, and by that, we are getting the full NFL experience. We've only really experienced one side of it. What it's like to get run over by a truck every Sunday or every season.
Absolutely.
In the end, it always ended poorly. And, I mean, look, it could end Sunday. But we've already gone to places that many people thought that they would never see. Not because it's impossible. It was impossible for us. It was impossible for the Lions. Other towns are probably laughing at this. I don't care. You haven't walked in our shoes.
Right. I mean, we've seen teams that we thought maybe were okay or good. You had that Scott Mitchell team that went to a playoff game against Philadelphia and just got hammered.
Yep.
Which was ridiculous. A team that scores 30-something points and still loses by 20. It was unbelievable. You had the Mitchell team that went down to Tampa and should have won. We should feel pretty good about this. Nope. They got beat there. And then, of course, the Stafford teams, the New Orleans game, felt like they never even had a chance in that game. The Cowboys game.
Yeah.
Seattle is like the forgotten playoff game.
Well, I think Zach Zenner was the starting running back for that game. I felt like no one even felt they had a chance going into that game. But I'm not going to apologize for enjoying this ride because You know what? Enjoy it. There's nothing like the first time, right? Nope. When you watch the first time of you see a great movie for the first time or a great television series, that the first time where you don't know what's going to happen next, it's like, oh, this is fantastic. This is great. I can't wait to watch the next episode and so forth. And I can't wait for the next game. Enjoy it. This is the first time. You only get your one shot at the first time of enjoying this ride. And when it becomes old hat, all right, I'll cross that bridge when we get to it, and I'll be fine with it. The ticket prices will come down. They won't be as crazy, right? But the first time, enjoy it, man. I'm going to enjoy every second of this.
My cousin's a season ticket holder for the Packers and sent me a text, and he was so happy for me and so happy for my brother and our family. Like, I'm so happy that you guys get to see, it was half ribbing, but also more than half. I mean, not half ribbing, but he was ribbing us a little bit, but he was genuinely happy because it's old hat for him being a Packers fan. Oh, they're used to making the playoffs, used to winning the division, used to hosting playoff games. We're not. So this is kind of cool. It's actually really cool.
And to make it even more special, guys, the struggle that we've been through. When you've been starving, man, that meal tastes good.
That's why I say this feeling that we're experiencing right now is unfortunately rare and temporary, because I don't want to go through another 32-year drought.
No.
But I think it's the 32-year drought that leads to this community euphoria that is probably highly unusual. 248-539-9797. Let's go to Joe next on 97.1 A Ticket. Hi, Joe.
Hey, hello. How you guys doing?
What's up, Joe?
Hey, not much. I just wanted to recap our phone call on Friday. I thought the Lions did exactly what I thought they'd do regarding the red zone with their safeties clogging that side of the field and allowing them to go up and down the field but not score, force them to field goals. And I think it worked to a T.